Hey, what's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good morning. We're just going to let people come in. What's up, Alita? What's up, Helen, Steve, CW, and Marlene? What's up? We're going to have some fun today talking about the GrowthDay app. We're also going to be talking about, I have a couple of themes for today, which are really important. Actually, I actually coached on this morning, and I'll give you some context about that as we get things going. So be sure to grab a drink of water, and maybe well, you don't really need a notepad because you got notes on the right sidebar if you're getting oriented with the app. And we'll just get started here in a short second. But feel free to actually, if you're open to sharing what your role is, and I would love to hear like what your role is today. And if you're retired, that's cool too. What's your role as a retired individual? But I would love to hear what your role is in your company, and just to give me some context of the audience for today. I'm letting some more people in. Good stuff here. Okay. Cool stuff. All right. Let's go. Okay. Well, you know what? As people come in, we'll like let people in. So you might see some more people. Okay, bar and restaurant today. Okay, right on, right on. All right, welcome, Aaron. Welcome. So hope everybody's doing good. Is today any? If this is your first day in Growth Day, you can raise your hand. So, but you don't have to come up on stage. But I just love to know if it's your first day in Growth Day, or if you've been experiencing Growth Day now for quite a bit of time. Yeah, cool. Okay. Right on. Thanks for sharing your role over on the right side. If you're just joining, if you wouldn't mind sharing your role, what you do over in the chat, it'd be great just to know. Just give me some context for today's session. But welcome everybody to today's growth group on building and sustaining your growth systems. We're going to talk about tools, people, and tactics today. It's one of my 11th pillars of focus when I think about growth systems for teams. And today I wanted to share a little bit about how I think about tools, people, and tactics, and how they kind of all work together. Because as we grow in our careers, as we grow in our in our disciplines on what we do, we need to really understand the tools that are going to set us up for success, the people and the relationships that we need to build, and the tactics or methods that we need to integrate or start so that we can tie all these things together. Because really, when you can tie these three things together, tools, like really impactful tools, really impactful relationships and people, environments, and also just tactics that are going to help you. I know sometimes tactics can come off like as this word of like, oh, I'm going to use this tactic to get this thing that I want. But I'm thinking of tactics more as like methods or abilities for you to be like, oh, well, I need to initiate a new ritual. I need to initiate a new routine. I need to initiate a new habit. Those sorts of things are tactics that can help you live a more holistic and a more like productive lifestyle. So we're going to talk about those things today. Oh, sweet. Alita's on a morning evening run. That's pretty cool. So supervisor and IT. Okay, awesome. Steve, we'll have lots of this. This will be really helpful for you too. So, but welcome everybody. My name is Drew Bridewell. I'm head of product and design here at Growth Day, and I'm just super excited to be able to host another growth group with y'all today. And what we're going to be doing first is we're going to be talking about tools. Tools. Like, how many of you, you're not on camera, but how many of you like are in a like in your career, you have to use like a lot of different tools, right? We have tools for our communication. Yeah, right, Steve? We have communications for how we have collaboration tools, like how we have a team involved in something that we're doing and we need to share information with them. We have tools for reporting. We have tools for like expression, like in social media, right? You have tools for running. If you're running a business, you have to broadcast information. We have tools for in design world, which I'm in the design and product world, we're using tools like Figma, like Figma, Figma.com, for live collaboration. So we have all the entire designs and everything that you experience in Growth Day. It's all mapped out inside of a tool called Figma. And this Figma tool allows us to help people know exactly what's implemented, help people know where things are going to get built. They also help us envision the future, and they also help us map out and problem solve existing workflow issues or things that we can optimize and improve over the long term. So we have tools for everything, right? So the number one thing that, if you're going to take anything away from today, is like, first, have you taken an audit of your tools that you use? Have you taken an audit of the tools you use? And an audit of the tools you use might look like going in and thinking about, from your Monday all the way to your Sunday, what tools do you interact with on your, on a 7-day stretch? And, the interesting thing is, if you attended the time management masterclasses that we've already been experiencing here, if you're a pro member, you can get access to that. You can go to learn and then go to the past replays. But if you were looking at, overall what you do every single day, from, the morning you wake up on a Monday morning to your Sunday evening, and then you have the cycle that you go through, right? The weekly cycle. I want you to think about and write down, this is your homework assignment. I'm already giving you some homework assignment to help you work through this. And you can actually write this in your journal inside the app. You can also go to the plan tool and just write out tools, people, tactics, plan, or training. And then what I want you to do is write out your Monday through Sunday, like actual schedule of what you do. And then I want you to write down all the tools that you use every single day and that you interact with, right? So this might take you an hour to do. This might take you a lot longer because you're jumping all over the place. But I want you to take an audit right now, not this second, but I want you to, like this week, I want you to take an audit and write down all the tools that you're using. How often are you using like TikTok and Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and all those tools? Are you using like Figma and Confluence and Trello for like project management, Jira for project management? Are you using like a reporting tool to manage your finances? Are you using like a tool like Kajabi to run your business? Like all the things, write them out. Can everybody do this week? And definitely Growth Day. I'm gonna get to Growth Day in a second. We have all these tools. We have all here. I'm just letting some more people in. We have all these tools for all the things that either, social media maybe doesn't. I mean, it supports us when we're promoting our businesses and like connecting with our friends, family from afar. We got all these tools, but the primary thing I want you to do is map them out. So first thing in your notes, write out, map your tools and do this. But it's really good to know what you're doing on a Monday through Sunday, because you're able to take stock in how frequently you're touching base and stepping into this world where you're switching context to a new tool. And I think it's really important to audit that and to be incredibly aware of how you move in and move out of your relationship with your tools. And, there's all these tools for getting things done, but I think an important part of like why we even built Growth Day is because we needed a place to organize the intention of our mind. And the intention of our mind is like, well, yeah, I know I need to do all these things, but how do I want to show up to do these things? How do I want to make sure I'm learning and working on myself through these things? Where am I going to store my notes, my plans, my objectives, the things that I want to actually move the needle for? And where am I going to organize all those things? And that's exactly what Growth Days can be used for. But hey, guess what? There's also those moments where you're like, I need to reflect. I need to journal. I need to understand like how I'm feeling about a certain thing. That's when we tap into the journal, or we tap into a life score so we can check these things off the list as far as like, okay, well, how am I doing? How am I showing up across my high performance habits? That's what the life scores are for. But if we start here, we can map out all our tools. It's a really important step. Then what we need to do is think about, all right, so I'm realizing through this mapping exercise that I have that I'm spending a lot more time in one tool over the other tool. This is a good point where you can be like, well, I understand this specific tool that I have. I understand how often I'm using it, but what's my relationship look like with this tool? And am I like a master at this tool, or do I let this tool consume all my time and it doesn't actually serve me back and forth? So think about your tools as almost like a relationship. It might sound kind of weird, but I gotta say, from the moment I started learning, doing online learning, and this was back in 2012, I got access to a learning company called lynda.com, lynda.com. And this was when I was at Savannah College of Art and Design. So I went to design school and I started learning online the tools that I needed to be able to do graphic design and to run a business. I needed a website. Okay, I got to get Dreamweaver. I got to be able to code. I got to be able to promote. I got to be able to like tell a story. All these tools, right? All these tools that we have. So what's the relationship like? And I learned at that early stage that I need to become a master at any tool that's I'm going to give it my time. Now, this is where you get really honest with yourself and you say, well, I'm spending 2-3 hours on this tool. Is it serving me? Is it helping me accomplish what I need to accomplish? And could I spend an hour less in this tool? Could I spend 2 hours less in this tool and still get what I need to get out of it? I think these are really important audit questions that you can have and reflection questions that you have, because when I'm coaching designers and product managers and designers, I'm helping them optimize how they use tools and their relationship with the tools so they can optimize their performance. So I want you to think about that too with GrowthDay. You come into GrowthDay and you have these like intentional moments to check in of how you're performing throughout the day. You can use life scores for that, which take a couple minutes to do a life score. But then when you come in and do a life score, to compound and to help that become even more impactful, you mix it in with a journal. And to mix it even more intentional, you use one of the high performance prompts at the bottom where you can do a morning mindset, an evening review, or a growth prompt. If you add into that, just adding in a journal on top of a life score, you're getting double the impact for your personal growth, because you're able to do a life score and reflect about it, or you're able to do a journal about your day, or a meeting you just had, or even if you're having the meeting right now and you're taking notes, and then you reflect about what it is you need to do next, and then you can transition that right into a plan that you're going to do for the next day. Like all these things are, we're trying to build more intention. And I just want the more intention that you can build in your life and your awareness of your life, the more impact that you can start really focusing and directing that energy where it needs to go. So that's really important part. So I'm just letting more people in. We're talking about tools, people, and tactics today inside the GrowthDay app. So we talked about mapping your tools. So taking a full audit of your Monday through Sunday. And this whole month's about time management. So if you go back in and watch the replays of what Mel Abraham was talking about, what Lori Harder was talking about, what Lisa Bilyeu was talking about, what Koya Webb was talking about already this month, 4 replays. You can go back in and look at how they think about time management, because it's also about intention management. The time management is a choice. Like, the intention that you bring into the situations that you have is a choice. So when you're thinking about Monday through Sunday, what do I do and what tools do I interact with? That's the first thing. We got to audit that. So I hope that helps. The second thing that we need to do with tool auditing is we need to interface the second layer of this, which is people. So along with our tool relationships and how we interact with certain tools to get things that we need to get done, we have people relationships that help us move things forward as well. Like people we need to reach out to, people we are waiting for something on, people we need to build relationships with, like family, friends, loved ones, partners. We need to build those relationships. We need to know when we're going to build those relationships throughout the week. And we need to know, like, okay, well, what tools am I going to use? How does this person or team or individual really like to communicate? And what's their love language, or what's their communication style? Do they like text messaging? Do they like Slack messaging? Do they like emailing? Probably not emailing. Emailing's I feel like it's kind of slowly going away in team collaboration, because you want instant communication. But email can be fine for big important updates and big important questions because it's a more like professional document. But Slack messaging, oh hey, how's it going with this? Little like asynchronous communication. You got to understand how your people in your life like to be communicated to. So, my family likes being communicated a little bit differently than maybe my team. But I like to learn those things through an audit and understanding Monday through Sunday, like where do I need to be? What systems do I have in place that are going to help me communicate and collaborate and facilitate and present the things that I need to present to move things forward. I hope that's helpful too, because mapping the tools is not mapping tools, it's mapping the people and the relationships you want to have to kind of step into that, like step into this, this growth that you're here, and you're here at GrowthDay for that. The third thing that we have is think about tactics. So when you think about tactics, what do you think about? You think about, I tend to think about, and you can put it in the chat, what you think about when you think of like tactics and challenges, but I like to think about the rituals, routines, and habits that I have in my life that support the people in my life and the things that the relationships I want to build to move the things forward. And I use the tools to complement and to help me execute those initiatives, those goals, those ambitions. Like I look at, and that's why like tools, people, and tax, I look at them together, because you need an audit of your tools, you need an audit of your relationships and people, and then you need to know how you're going to show up and do the work. And when I think about doing the work, I'm like, okay, well, what's the number one thing that I need to take care of my day? Like every day, what's the number one thing I got to map and make sure that it's so dialed in and crystal clear for me? And you can do this work from going into your growth profile, learning about your big why, putting in some goals, and start working towards those things. But what I like to think about as I start every day is I start with my morning ritual, and my evening routine. So my morning ritual is like what I do when I first wake up. I get a glass of water with a squeeze of lemon, and I drink that water. Then I start getting my coffee ready to go, because I'm going to go in and I'm going to start like, either writing, journaling, listening to the Daily Fire. I like doing that in the morning. But I have a series of hours like in the morning from like I wake up at 5 or like 4:50 a.m. And then once I'm like up and moving, then for literally like 3-4 hours, I don't schedule any meetings. And I have that moment of time where I can finish things, I can kickstart the day, and everybody's still sleeping by that time. And then I can start, school has started up, so there's things I can do there to help my son. He's 13. We've homeschooled him, and he's also going to like this community agile learning center where they still do a ton of growth and other things. But I got to like schedule my morning. I got to make sure that's super sound. That's, to me, it's like a tactic that I use that's going to help me. Oh, right on. So there we go. We got our morning thing. That's like a part of a tactic. The evening routine, and I don't call it like like an evening ritual. It's just an evening routine. What time do I want to start winding down? What do I need to close down so that I can relax and release any tension for the day? And then how can I get in and, just set my night up for success so I can have a beautiful night with my wife and my son, and we can chill out, and then we can transition to sleep and go in and start the next day with success. So that might be like a little bit of planning. It might be, just getting things ready for the next day, like getting workout clothes out, getting, the dishes in the dishwasher, run the dishwasher if there's any laundry that needs to be done, like checking those things, like going through these little checkpoints. And that works for me, and I want to encourage you to do what works for you, of course, but you won't know what works unless you are mapping and you're consciously aware and you're building a lot more intention about those things. So think about it in your life. Where can you map and audit your tools? Where can you map and audit your relationships? Right, the relationships. Where can you map and audit your like morning routines, the things that you do throughout the day, and your evening routines? Now, if you're a business owner, or if you're, you have a lot of things that you do to fill the time, taking a step back and just writing it down. I like to do this very frequently when we hire a bunch of new people or when we're starting new initiatives, because when we have new initiatives come in, we have different roles and responsibilities that we need to release this to the rest of the crew. So we have to do another audit to make sure that we're optimized for success. This could look like, okay, bring in 2 or 3 new people. How does that affect the flow of what we currently have in our staff and team, and then what do we need to do to kind of move those things forward so everybody's aligned and they know what they need to do. I'm just looking at the chat. So what kind of questions do you have when you think of tools, people, and tactics and things that you're doing, even in like how you can leverage the GrowthDay app? What kind of questions do you have? And please feel free to put them in the chat and we can make sure that we get those answered through today. But I just want to make sure that you're feeling that you got the support you need to go and do this audit, to do this little mapping exercise. I want to encourage you to think about the types of questions that you can ask about, your relationships with people and how it affects like how you communicate to them, how you can collaborate with them, how you can execute projects better with them. And then also, what do you do to build really good rituals, routines, habits, and tactics so that you can actually execute the work and be successful? So I'm going to read a couple of the questions in the chat. So moment of silence for me. Oh, okay. So from a getting a funnel like down the road, there's like, from a sense of urgency perspective, CW, like I would say like what can you do, like if you were to, because you got to get in the game. If you have a funnel and is the funnel currently up, if it's not currently up, how can you get the funnel set up so you can start learning and getting feedback on that funnel like in a day? Like how quickly can you get feedback on that funnel immediately? And then I think like from a delegation perspective, like you might be able to, like if you're using Kajabi or another product, you might be able to set up a funnel just by following the instructions of what Kajabi is giving you, or like ClickFunnels or any of these other things. There's so many examples out there, but you got to get into the game. If you have funds to be able to hire a designer to help like elevate and polish that work, it's really good for you to, as a business owner, to know what is needed and what your audience is, and know like the story you're trying to tell and the narrative you're trying to tell up front, so that when you hand this over and delegate this work to a designer, they really understand like what it is and why it's important and what the current benchmarks are for the business and where it needs to go. Because if you just give a designer a project, they're going to make it look great. They're going to make it look really beautiful, but they might not be connected to the business metrics and what success looks like for the project beyond just making it look gorgeous. And I think when you introduce a designer into the play in your project play, you got to make sure that designer understands the business goals and the priorities and like the business metrics, so that they can better participate and collaborate with you on those things. Yeah. I would say get the funnel set up as soon as possible so you can just like start learning, and before you even start running ads to it, like you'd want to, like you can map that out in a tool, but you don't need a designer to map out a funnel. You can just go to the best funnels in the business. You can go to funnels that Brendan's doing. You can go to funnels that ClickFunnels is doing. You can go learn from existing platforms and experiences, something very maybe similar to your business. You can look at what they're doing, map out what they're doing, write it down, and then go implement your concept, your idea, the best you can do. And then you start optimizing all those things with, extra talent. But like the same thing for editing videos. Like if any of you have to edit your own videos, you want to do it yourself so you can see what it takes, how you want to tell your story. And then you can start bringing in extra talent and paying them to do, a higher quality job. But you got to learn the systems for yourself first, so that you're making sure that you can manage and delegate that work properly. Because if you just hire somebody right off the gate and you have no clue like what they're going to, they might not be focused their energy on where they actually need to be focused. And you can save a lot of time and energy and money just by doing it a little bit yourself up front. It might be harder, but that's where you can ask questions. You can join the Influencer Pro community. Brendan's got a whole Influencer Pro community, and You can also ask questions in the comments in the community, and then people can point you and direct you in the right direction. So Marlene asked, what is a funnel? This is a fun little question. I mean, it's like, so a funnel is, if you think about any business or operation that you create. So let's just say you're coming in to a new product and you hit a website. Like you get an advertisement and they hit you in social media and you click on that. That's a funnel. You get introduced to a new product, you get introduced to a new service, and then at the top of the funnel, you're like, huh, this is interesting to me. This is something I need. This is something I'm looking for. Great, I'm going to click that link. And then that's going to take me to another page where it's going to ask me maybe for my email, maybe it's going to ask me for my name and contact information. A lot of funnels need that up front because they need to learn who you are so they can, retarget you with ads, or they can retarget you with, an email that's going to say, hey, I can actually help you with this over the long term. Let me get your email so I can send you some emails. Then after that, there would be another opportunity for them to offer you something. And once they offer you something, you choose to buy it or choose not to buy it. And then you're inside the funnel at that point in time. And a core objective for a business is to make sure that they're delivering value to you every step of the way. And if you're feeling like you're getting value from a product or a service, then you're more likely to pay for it and use it. And yeah, but I think from a tool perspective, that's why it's so important to map your tools and to learn, how does this add value to me? And am I paying for a tool that I actually need? And then also, is it contributing back to me, this tool? Am I getting something out of it? Now, the amazing thing about GrowthDay is you're literally getting value every single day from Brennan's daily fires, which the daily fire alone is worth the entire value, I believe, in the annual membership of the product, because you get to hear coaching live every single day. And it's just very unique to the product. It's very unique to the brand. Then you have all these tools that can support you, and then you have reminders that you can set, and then you have community, and then you have courses and learning. So we really try to pack in the value for you at every step of the way, no matter your plan. But if you want to really take it to the next level, then you mix in learning courses, and that's what the all access plan is. And if you want weekly touch points to help keep you accountable and staying on track, that's where Pro comes in, because that's like weekly coaching with these professional coaches and speakers that charge like $50,000 for keynotes to their companies in the workplace. So that's like another value. And then if you're just like wanting to get into the game, then Starter is a really good plan for that, because you have the Habit Builder course and then the Starter tools, and that kind of gives you a full little range of that. So Marlene just asked about funnels. Babish is talking about being consistent. How to be consistent. Is that what your question is, Babish? It's okay. It's okay. Keeping updating my planners. Okay, so oftentimes too with the tools and having to create plans and stay on top of your plans, what I like to do is, once you do a full audit of your system and you have gone through like your Monday through Sunday, what do you currently do in your operations and all the things that you have to do, right? You're understanding all the touch points with the tools, and you're understanding the people. Like, really go through this exercise and map it out. And when I say map it out, like if you have a piece of paper, you can use a piece of paper, or if you need a design tool for this, you could use like Figma or Miro, Miro. Those are tools that help you map things out. And then there's other free tools that you could probably find, like a free mapping tool. And then go through like a Monday through Sunday, and then just write down all the things that you do, all the tools that you interact with, and look at what systems you have in place. And a system, Bhavesh, would be like, what do you do every day? Like, what's your block times to get things done? And then, like, when do you find yourself most productive? When you find yourself most, like, kind of tired? You want to optimize your days so that you're doing the most important work when you're most efficient and you're most like energized and you're most ready to take on an action. You don't want to do your most important work at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night if you're really tired around that time, or else you'll have a lower value of execution. So you want to really think it through, like, oh, I'm like primed and ready 8 to 10 in the morning. That's my time. That's my time. I can get 3 or 4 times the amount of work done during that window of time, because that's my Einstein window. That's my efficient. That's when I'm super efficient. So when you feel like you have a challenge to updating your plans or staying on track or being consistent, you want to go back to your rituals, your routines, and your habits. So if you're off track and you feel like I don't know what I'm doing, then you can go and do a life score so that you can measure like how you're feeling around your sleep, around your nutrition, around your productivity, around your courage, around your influence. Like you measure those so they'll be like, oh, well, I'm a little bit lower on that, and then it will give you recommendations right under the video, right under your score, so you can practice that initiative. Or you just realize like, I need a better ritual right now. So every day at between 12 and 1 p.m., I'm going to learn, or I'm going to practice this thing, or I'm going to execute this thing. You just got to be real specific about when you're going to do things, and then kind of bucket those into themes. If you feel like you have way too many tasks every day that you do, then you need to step back and look at them from a higher level and say, how could you theme your days or your moments to just do the theme of work versus like the individual 100 little smaller tasks that you need to do. For example, if you know that you're running a business, I think we had some business owners in here. If you're running a business and you're like, I need to do some promotional content for my business. Okay? So first you got to pick a time during the day or certain times during the week, or a moment that really is where you're on your best, you're on your A game. Step into that moment and be like, this is when I'm going to do my promotional content. This is my theme. Every week I'm doing this promotional content at this time. All right. So when you step into that moment, 5-10 minutes before that moment, take a deep breath, you get your mind right, and you're like, I'm going to have a beautiful moment to execute this promotional work. This is the intention I want to bring in. I want to be motivated. I want to be enthusiastic. I want to be very focused during this time. No distractions. All right. Got that intention. And now I'm going to step in and do that work. And you've kind of have a very calm, collected energy. And then you make it happen. You do the work. If you feel like you're having challenges doing that sort of intentional work before you go into meetings, then we just got to prepare a little bit more about when you have those block times and find better optimized time windows so that you can have better engagement, execution, relationships with the people during those moments. And then you can use the tools in a way that are going to serve you. You can use tools like GrowthDay, where you can go and set a reminder of that specific time, and then you can just start getting after it. So super important. Yeah, I'll tell you what, like online learning has changed my life. So Bhavesh, did that help give you a little bit of clarity around your question? Awesome. Right on. So we also, CW had questions about the funnel, which, we can jump around, like it's totally fine to jump around, because I think this gamut of how GrowthDay can support you, but also like just in this talk, like tools, people, and tactics, when you feel like you're kind of unorganized and not really connecting these three worlds of things of like, rituals, routines, and habits with the tactics, people, like how you relate and collaborate and facilitate people engagements like we're doing right now, but also like when you're out of this meeting or going in and setting up your next meeting with your team or your next meeting with your family, how can you prepare for that moment? And what tools could you use, or what intention can you bring into that session and make it amazing? And then we have tools like, okay, we're using GrowthDay, we're using all these other tools that we can use to impact our business and what we're trying to create. That's another thing that you can leverage as well. What other types of questions do we have in the group? Okay. So here's another question. For starting social media promotion for a small business owner, if they do not want to be known as an owner, CEO, founder on social media, what alternative titles would you use? an ambassador, chief marketing officer, sales executive? It's a good question. I would ask, like, are there any people in your industry, in that small, as a small business owner, that are doing and modeling the thing that you want to be doing? And look at their titles. Go do some research around what they're doing, because this might be like, I don't know a specific title because I don't know specifically your industry, but yeah, you could be a managing director, you could be a business coach, you could be a let's see here. This is brainstorm together real quick. Social media promotion, and you don't want to be a CEO, founder, or owner. What's your business area again, CW? If you don't mind sharing. What's your sector or your industry? Ah, you could be a financial executive financial advisor, or you could be uh, like, if you want to. Oh yeah, then you're if you want to help business owners, then that's, I would consider like an executive. Yeah, executive financial advisor. Yep, yep. You want to kind of use like an executive. I think an executive term. Well, one recommendation for that, because if you want that sort of audience, then you work with executives, or because you might get like individual contributors that also, I don't know, somewhere in your funnel where it they'd be targeting that. So I might, yeah, right on. Yeah, executive at financial advisors sounds pretty good. But do some research on other people that have done that, and then just examine and review their social media, review their LinkedIn, learn about what they're doing with the public information that's already out there, and then figure out how you can kind of add your own flavor to it. That'd be good. Cool. All right, so what I want to do now, keep the questions coming, y'all, and I want to give a few examples today while we're here. All right. So we have about 22 minutes left, and what I want to show you really quick is some examples of how you can bring in the GrowthDay tool to be able to help you get super efficient with how you set your relationships up a little bit better, but using the plan tool to really help with this. So I like to look at the plan tool as not just a to-do list, because to-do lists are important, but to-do lists have dead ends. Let me say that again. A to-do list has dead ends, and having a dead end doesn't really serve you in the long run. Like, you want to create things, and I'm just saying this as encouraging. Like, if you have a plan, you want to be able to reuse your plan. If you create a plan and then it dies and then it's a dead end, then you don't get any value from it again. But if you create a plan that you can leverage on a weekly, monthly, yearly basis, yearly is like a long time, but if you can look at that plan throughout the year, and like, oh, this is important, like a financial plan, or like you have a growth plan for your initiatives for this year, then you can come back to those things, and they don't die. They just grow. They adapt. They merge into things. And I think it's important for you to think about your plan tool as not just a to-do list. I hope that makes sense for a second. So a couple examples of this. So this week, I'm doing growth plans for our internal staff at GrowthDay. An internal growth plan means that we need to be able to help make sure that we have the big, giant projects that the team's working on this half in our mind. We need to know individual clarity for our staff. Like, as a team member, we need to know that you have clarity around what your purpose is, what your opportunities and kryptonite is, like what opportunities you have to grow, what are your priorities right now in your life, how you identify as a creator, as a maker in your role. Like, if you're an engineer, like, how would you identify as an engineer? Are you like, a consistent engineer? Are you like focused? Like, just how would you define it? And then we need to know for that individual what success looks like. And then we also need, like, for anything that you do, like, what does success look like for your projects, for your life? What does success look like? Then we need to know what and how you want to interact with other people. So we got those first things in a growth plan. Great. Got it. Sweet. Then we need to understand. So we have clarity, and then we also have, on another hand, your project goals. Then we have business metrics. So there's three things. And then we have essentially like what it is that you want to do. So when you combine those things, then you can create a growth plan, like, for yourself. And inside the growth, this is like an example. Like, we have clarity, we have goals. We're going to have an action plan of what it is we need to do. Let me just let this person in. We're going to need a regimen to be able to help us. You know, this is when I was talking about tactic. Like, a regimen could be like, what's my workout regimen, or what's my planning regimen for my team? What are the opportunities that I have in front of me? Let me just see it actually. Oh, sorry about this. Let me click in here. Okay, so I'm going to go through a couple of these examples. So a business metric for a tech company, for example, might be like month-over-month growth, or it might be for you want to go from, like, say 10,000 people or 100 people to 200 people. That could be a goal. That could be a metric. A business metric could also be like revenue. Like, you want to go from, $50,000 in revenue to $100,000 in revenue. Just basic benchmarks that you have in your business would be a great start, Teresa. So with this, it could be anything that you want to measure. So for clarity, I just called these out: priorities, purpose, opportunities, identity, interactions, and success. This, my friends, isn't a to-do list. This is a system. These are things that I need to do to build clarity. You can also go into the clarity class from Brendan on High Performance Habits Builder. You all have access to that. Go check that out. That's going to also help you go super next level when it comes to clarity. So you have these things, great. Then we got to have goals. I like to focus on goals as project, personal, passion, and career, because I like to have a holistic view of how I want to show up. So I'm doing this for my team as well, growth plan. Then we need to be able to know what are our actions. Top 3 daily priorities. How do I get to the point where I know every day what my daily top 3 priorities are? Well, I got clarity. I know what my projects are. I know what the big giant metrics are. Now I know all these things. I know where to focus my energy. Hope that makes sense, because this is a recipe for success. Once you know what those clear things are for your development plan, then you know how to put it into motion and get into the groove. And I love that. I love that so much. But what are your top 3 priorities for the week? You know those when you're going into the week. Like, maybe on a Sunday, you're like, okay, what are the top 3 things I need to do this week? Finish taxes, kick off this new project, onboard this new player on the team. Got it. Top 3 priorities of the month. Oh, now I'm stepping back and getting a little bit bigger. Okay. This top 3, I need to start this new business. I need to get these new tools engaged. I need to know how each of my team members are going to be using these tools. Oh, I need to kick off this new adventure with my family. I need to plan that family adventure and get after it. Okay, that's a priority this month. Write it down. You don't have to have all these little to-do lists, but you need to know what these high-level things are. Then I need to know what my top 3 goals are for the year. Those can adapt, those can adjust, but literally giving you a plan here that you can follow. And then when it comes to a regimen, this is like tools, people, and tactics. You can't quite read it? Okay. Here, I'll just go through that again real quick. Priorities. You can take a screenshot if you want. 3, 2, 1. Then we have goals. Personal, project, passion, career. Then you have action plan. Top 3 daily, top 3 priorities, top 3 priorities of the month, week, and year. And then you have opportunities. Opportunities are like maybe these could be like, okay, what are my weak areas of my growth right now? Maybe I struggle a lot with difficult conversations, which is a hard thing to do. Okay, what are my next 3 GrowthDay courses I can watch to help with that? Where can I go out and learn about these different things. Like, what are those opportunities at? And you can just list them out and write them out. All good, all good, all good. We currently don't have these systems where you can share these right now, but we're working towards new ways that you can basically get visibility into additional plans that are inside the GrowthDay app. So we're working on that. That's pretty cool. A pretty cool idea. So we'll keep working on that. So great question about when would you review the development plan. So if you're a manager and you're trying to review development plans, you want to do that like right after you do the big initiatives, the big objectives for the year or for the month or for the half with your team. That's a great time. Right after you set the priorities of the business, then you want to have kind of a kickoff with your team to make sure that they have, what are the top 3 focus areas? What are the top 3 areas of improvement? What are the top 3 things that they want to actually do individually, so you know that they're working on themselves while they're working on these project goals. The same thing for you. You want to have those 3 things dialed in all the time so you know where you're growing, right? We're in GrowthDay, so we want to be able to plan those things. The second thing that you need to do is, like, you do want to be aware of these things, but realistically, once you set it, you know what it is, and you can monitor those things for like the quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, you see how you're tracking towards those things. But you want to have awareness that you're working towards those things so that you're focused on the right areas of growth. Then once you have that quarterly review, you're like, are we on track? Are we not on track? Okay, what do we need to do to adapt this or change this? Yeah, right on. So as a team, you're letting them know what their goals are. You're doing the same thing. You're sharing those. So here's the compound effect, where if you know what your team's goals are and you know what their individual goals are, then you can align your efforts to coaching them, to mentoring them, to helping them achieve what it is they want to do, and then they're a great teammate. They're happy because they were able to work on the things they love, that they're passionate about, that they're focused on growing. And then what you do is you get a better worker, and you get a more enthusiastic individual that got to do what they love to do, plus they got buy-in with you as a coach, as a mentor, as a boss, and then you're all growing towards this together. I will be sharing a replay of this inside of the community. I also post all these as well in a playlist so you can have access to it at a later time. Thank you so much. Cool. Sweet. So if I go back to CW's question, like, well, if you were to review it, like when would you review a development plan? Remember, you have to be thoughtful whenever you introduce a new plan, a development strategy, a new tactic. You want to be super mindful of how you integrate that into your life. Now, realistically, if you're integrating too many things at once, there's going to be lower quality of execution. So build yourself up over the years. Don't think that you have to do everything right now, right today, or else. But start the process of building up your awareness and your maturity around these things. And then you can start getting better. I could take on 5 projects when I was in school at SCAD when I first started. I had like 3 projects always at a given time as a student. But then then I got my first role as a designer, product lead. Okay, I got 3 or 4 things now that I'm running concurrently. Okay, great. Work through those things, figure out the systems, figure out the routines, figure out how to make it happen. But if you feel like you're chasing, if you feel like you're not making progress, then you need to either recalibrate your schedule, your block times, and you need to reschedule, maybe getting a little bit of feedback around how you're performing, how you're doing. Like, we always need those things for feedback. But I think one of the beautiful things about personal growth is that when you can bring in more people to know like what it is you're focused on, what it is you're working on, what like goals, ambitions, and priorities that you're trying to move forward, then you're opening the door for support and for help. And when you can grow together, it has such a better impact. It has such more impact on the journey and what it is that you're creating and what it is that you're doing. I just love like this week when we got to talk about that with the team. It's so beautiful because you get to learn things that you didn't know about your team. You get to learn things that, and that's why I like the second part of this whole talk was tools, people, and tactics, is because people, it's not just about what you're doing. It's about how what you're doing affects and impacts the people around you that you love, the people that you want to go to bat for, the people that you want to like roll up your sleeves with and go get after it every single day together. Like that's the beauty of growing together. And if you know what each other's development plans are in the growth and you can learn about those things, I think it's just a beautiful thing, and you can work through these things on a regular basis. But like I like to think about these checkpoints in CW. The last thing I'll say about it is you want to optimize and integrate at the moments that matter with your team. So after you do project planning or for a big project, that's a good time to do like plans, development plans, so everybody can grow along that same initiative. If you already have projects in flight, then you might want to check in at the half point of the year. That way you don't wait till the very end of the year to get feedback around like things, so you can course correct really quickly with the team. If you're in a development program and you're like an engineer, then you want to do those things like every 2 weeks because there's so much at play. You want to be able to give feedback around the performance and then quickly like practice and initiate and make those things better quickly. So let me just read a couple things. So those are some opportunities for you. It says, Drew, with your dev plan and the subtask for each of you shared, how often are you looking at it for your own dev? Plan to make sure you're staying on top of it all. Yes. So the thing is, so I have this development plan, like this right here, what you're seeing is a template so that I can come in and help coach and train y'all on it. I use Figma to visualize because I'm very visual. I use this to handle my like high level intention, but I use the tools to be able to go into my visual communication style. So I have these rocks, and I have all my big important private projects inside of my tool, Figma. And then I have my goals and initiatives on the right side of that. And then I have my future initiatives and the things that I need to do for I'm growing. Like I want to build here. I'm going to keep it. I think it's going to keep sharing. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. For example, I want to build a world-class leadership this year at GrowthDay. I want to build world-class product and design performance. These each have like sub-items and things that I'm going to do. And I want to become the absolute best at delivery so that I'm delivering on time. So I know that for my development plan, I have the clarity of what I need to do. I have my goals for the projects of what I need to help with. My plans are making sure that the systems, the rituals, and routines for the entire staff and team are set up for success, and they know exactly what they need to do. And I'm going to practice my regimen so that when new people join, they know exactly what they need to do and they can get the support they need. So I'm tapping into my development plan every time I'm looking at my project goals, which I look at those probably every week, but I'm not changing things and dramatically like shifting things. I have to really visualize like what success looks like for all the things that we do. And then I know that when I'm stepping into a really important meeting that I want to prepare for that with a little bit high dose of intention. So you have to find what works best for you depending on your ambition, based on where you're currently at in your life, in your awareness. But the more that and I start to memorize these things, I just know what it is I want to do and what it is I want to achieve. So I'm like, it's a part of me. It's a part of like what I want to just kind of dive into. Okay, I'm just checking out. Yes. So CW, I have a replay on design productivity, which I tend to, on top of the high performance habits productivity, which is something we all should practice. I have one on design productivity, which is looking at systems and the teams and everything that goes into that. So that's also available in the playlist. And that was just a couple weeks ago. It's like, it was 4 weeks ago. So you can check that one out. You can also DM me on LinkedIn or in the direct channel on community, and you can message me and I can send you specifically these links to these things so you can check that out. Yep, no problem. Oh, nice, nice. I'm just reading the chat here, catching up with y'all. Yeah, right on. You know, the thing is, like, I think I'm gonna come back to y'all. I'm gonna stop sharing. And come over to the chat. All right. So the thing is, like, Marlene had this comment that, like, it's so true. Like, you know, sometimes we know that, like, the people we love the most, sometimes we see and experience things that we're like, oh, wish I was working on that with this person. I think that's what I would consider an opportunity. Like, the opportunity is, how can you learn about your partner or your friends or your teammates, what their needs, goals, desires are. And when you think about, where do you store that intention? Like, you could literally create a plan and call it mentoring. And then you could write down all the people you want to support this year. All of them. Just all of the people you want to support. Then make a sub item, because you can do subtask inside of the plan tool. Then you can go into each of those individual people and write out the top 3 things that you want to support them on. It could be coaching them, communicating. It could be like, you want to help them achieve a promotion. You want to help them clean out their garage. I mean, it could be anything. Go through all the people you care about and think about, and go back to that list and go to mentoring, go to the list, and then write out, like, what you could do to support them. And then if you don't have an entry point into helping and supporting them, then what your entry point could be is asking them this really important question. Be like, hey, Drew, I'd love to learn about what your ambitions and goals are this year. I really want to support you. I really want to help you achieve what it is that you want to achieve. So I'd love to learn about what you're trying to do this year. And if you even reached out to them in like a couple months, you could be like, hey, I just wanted to reach out and learn. Here are my top 3 things that I'm focused on. I would love to support you in your top 3 things. Or if it's your spouse or your partner, be like, hey, you know, what are you really trying to do this year? I want to help you, support you so much this year. You know, come in and learn about that and inquire about it, and be curious about it. Then document that in your plan, and then you can have checkpoints and weekly reminders to go back in and support them. It's just like, use the tool to your advantage to get, you know, those things. And we don't have those things like built into our DNA right now, but you can start building the practices where you just make it a daily habit. So, you know, like, hey, when my son wakes up in the morning, I'm gonna be like, what's up, man? I'm like, oh, that was probably so loud, sorry. But I want to show him some energy, that I'm excited that he's up. And then, okay. And then I made him this really good breakfast burrito today. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to make sure that he gets this breakfast burrito, and he knows that I put so much love and attention into this breakfast burrito for him. And, you know, like, there's just all these little moments that we have. And I think it's just like, when we think about, you know, the people relationships that we have and create, it's also like, how can we use the tools and build a relationship with our tools to master them, and then to build in better awareness around our team, our execution practices, our operations, and like how we measure performance with each other. Build a relationship with your team, build a relationship with your family, measure it, and then continually get better. So I hope this was helpful for everybody today. We have a minute left in the session. I just want to thank everybody for attending, and also just giving me the grace just to talk about like growth systems inside of the GrowthDay app, with the focus on tools, people, and tactics. Next week, we're going to be talking about reflection, and the power of reflection, and the power of doing that inside of the GrowthDay app. I will also talk about my reflection practices that I do on a weekly basis. This includes the weekly roll-up that I write about what it is that I'm doing every single week. And then I will talk about how I use that to better my following weeks, and then also what I do from a year-end review reflection. So I'll just talk about reflections. It'll be fun, and I hope to see you all there. Thank you so much for joining, and yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Please please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and connect with me on Instagram. I'm at Drew Bridewell. I'm at A Bridewell on LinkedIn, and just would really like to stay connected. All right. See y'all in the next one.